What's up guys, Trilogy here. Today we're going to be talking about Really Love. It's going to be a drama, comedy, romance. Well, it's not really too much comedy. It's going to really be like a romantic drama kind of film, Really Love. And it's on Netflix and it's trending right now. I usually don't watch these type of movies. I watch one every blue moon, but I like black movies and the main characters were black. The main cast is black. And I really like to get behind movies like that. So I sat down and watched this movie, and the ending was a bit open-ended, and I know that was intentional. So I just wanted to take a second and talk about the movie. I do movie endings explained on my channel all the time. This is Trilogy, and if you guys want to check that out, I have curated playlists on my channel. I do gaming, movie, technology, all kinds of reviews on my channel. And with that said, I definitely recommend you check it out. Everything's sorted. And if you like the video, I recommend liking it. If you loved it, I recommend subscribing. Still a growing channel and everything you do helps. That said, let's jump into Really Love. So Really Love starts off, we have Stevie, who is an aspiring law student. And we have Stevie, who is an aspiring law student. And then we have Isaiah, who is an artist. Isaiah has hit a plateau in his work. He's broke. And Stevie is really dependent on her parents, who have her as the apple of their eye. They're like, she is their star in the sky, and she's always been their main priority, and they've always dedicated everything to her, and everything she has is supported and paid for by them, whereas Isaiah is more on his own, and he's trying to follow his passion, which is to become a amazing artist with his own solo venue. But they meet at an art gallery and they kind of hit it off, but not really. It's very awkward. And then they just happen to bump into each other later on that night at the club. They hang out, he walks her home, he gets her number, and after talking to her homegirls who convince her to go on a date, they have an amazing date at the park. And after a while, they really start hitting it off. They become consistent, there becomes a relationship. They move in together. Isaiah meets her parents, who are really not happy about their daughter living with a man that she just met. Although the movie doesn't really give us a timeline on how long things have transpired between their relationship beginning and them moving in together. So it could be some months, it could be some weeks. In my opinion, it feels more like a matter of weeks based off of the timeline of the movie, but they move in together, and this is the honeymoon stage. You know, if you've ever been in a relationship, you know, this is where the butterflies are here and you start feeling lightheaded when the other person touches you. You smile thinking about them, and the honeymoon stage is amazing at the beginning of any relationship. But just like most relationship, if effort isn't put into the relationship, the honeymoon stage will leave because people get comfortable in the relationship and they stop trying to treat the other person like they're still trying to win them over. And that's kind of what happens in this instance, although it's a little complicated. So each character has their own dreams. Like I said, Stevie wants to be a lawyer, and then obviously Isaiah wants to be a big time artist. Stevie is willing to put her dreams on hold to prioritize the relationship, whereas Isaiah shows repeated behaviors of putting his art above everything. And at a certain point, they do get in a fight and they kind of break up, but then they kind of reconnect, and Stevie gets accepted at this big time law firm, but it's in Chicago. And just for reference, I believe they live in New York City. So she would have to move away, and she's like, hey, do you think I should take this job? And Isaiah's like, hey, that's your dream, right? If that's your dream, you should take the job. So she leaves, they break up basically. And later down the road, they happen to bump into each other at another art gallery. I don't know if this is intentional. I feel like Stevie knows I feel like Stevie would have known that Isaiah's art was at that gallery. Funnily enough, she shows up with another man. So it's like a date there, and she bumps into Isaiah, and it's pretty awkward. And after that, they do kind of reconnect again. They get intimate, and then she's like, Isaiah confesses that he's missed her, and she says, well, if you had just told me to stay, I never would have left in the first place. And this right here basically just shows that Stevie is willing to put the relationship above her own goals, which she's prioritizing, whereas Isaiah, after they have their night together, he spends most of the day working on his art, and she's packing up to leave, and he's like, hey, I thought we were going to spend today together. And she says, I thought so too. And there's also an earlier event where Isaiah is supposed to show up for an opera with Stevie and her parents, and he doesn't show up because he's working on his art. So this is just repeated behaviors of Isaiah putting his art above everything else in his life, which, I mean, that's his passion, but it makes Stevie feel some type of way because he's not prioritizing the relationship. After that, they kind of break up again, and they don't talk for a while, and then Isaiah calls her and says, hey, I have another solo venue in DC. I'm hoping you'll come through and check it out. She does come through, she checks it out. At this point, Isaiah is a really big time artist, so he's achieved his dream. Stevie's achieved her dream. She's working at her big firm in Chicago and stuff like that. So both characters have achieved their dreams, but their relationship is in turmoil. They see each other, they talk for a little bit, and then we see Stevie go off to the main event, which we do hear Isaiah talk about this portrait earlier on in the movie. He says it needs to be on its own wall by itself, and it's basically a painting of Stevie, and it's a nude painting, and she recognizes that, she's definitely been an inspiration for Isaiah. But if you look closely, you can see the face is kind of distorted in Isaiah's painting style, and it's like as if Isaiah sees her as an inspiration, but he doesn't really see her for what she is, and he sees her as like inspiration, but he doesn't put her as a priority as a relationship. He says he misses her, he says he loves her, he says he wants to hang out with her, but repeatedly his behaviors don't show the consistency of him prioritizing her. And the movie ends with Isaiah staring at Stevie and Stevie's eyes watering as she realizes that she's used to getting a full life of love, basically from her parents. They've always treated her 100%, and Isaiah doesn't treat her 100%, and that's just not something that fits right with her. The movie ends there, it's open-ended, we don't know if they get back together, but based off of this revelation, I don't think that they'll be getting back together. Simply because Stevie wants a relationship where she's a priority in that relationship, and Isaiah is just not able to give that. Even now, as a big time artist, he was still putting his art above Stevie even after they reconnected. So that's the ending of Really Love. It was really good. I really like this movie. It was a bit slow at sometimes, but that's just the genre of this movie. If I had to give it a rating, I'd give it like an 8 out of 10. It was definitely one of the better movies that I've seen in recent history. This is a trilogy with trilogy effect. I hope this ending made sense to you. What do you guys think? Do you guys think Stevie and Isaiah got back together? Let me know down below in the comments, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.